Hello everybody and welcome back to the Alien vs Predator Galaxy YouTube channel. This is Corporal Hicks and I'm here with a brand new OWLF database video. And today I'm going to be talking to you about Alan Dutch Schaefer. When you think of the Predator, the name Arnold Schwarzenegger is not far behind in your mind. Arnie is as closely associated to the Predator series as Sigourney Weaver is to Alien. Unlike Sigourney though, Arnie has only ever appeared in a single Predator film, the first, and he has only ever shown up once in the expanded universe. It's been reported in the past that Arnie was originally going to appear in Predator 2, but according to longtime Predator producer John Davis, it all came down to a $250,000 pay deal that broke down. Arnie would go on to appear in Terminator 2 instead of Predator 2. Dutch's role in Predator 2 was eventually repurposed to be that of Gary Busey's Peter Keyes. Though he was absent from the finished film, Dutch did actually make an appearance in the Predator 2 novelisation, which was written by Simon Hawke. Several weeks after the events of Predator, Peter Keyes would visit Dutch in hospital. Dutch had initially been in shock following his narrow escape of the Predator's self-destruct device. Dutch was debriefed and subjected to polygraph tests to test the veracity of Dutch's outrageous claims. Despite suffering from radiation poisoning following the nuclear detonation, Dutch ripped out his IVs, fought off orderlies and security staff and escaped, never to be seen again. The doctors believed that Dutch would have been dead by the time Predator 2 took place. Peter Keyes wasn't so sure though. The only other licensed material that Dutch would make an appearance in was the absolutely fantastic novel Predator South China Sea. Written by Jeff Vandermeer and released in 2008, Dutch appeared in a series of flashbacks in which one of the main characters, Gustat, seeks advice on the Predators, where to find them, how to fight them, their weaknesses, etc. Dutch never actually reveals his name to Gustat in the novel. He is referred to simply as Onyx, due to the brand of cigars that he is always smoking when the two meet. Jeff Vandermeer, the author, did confirm in post-release question and answers that Onyx was Dutch. Though Dutch himself doesn't feature prominently in the expanded universe, the core trilogy of the EU comics, specifically, revolve around Dutch's brother, Detective Schaefer. In the first ever Predator series, which is more commonly known as Predator Concrete Jungle, Detective Schaefer eventually encounters General Phillips from the first film. In the comics, Phillips has become the commanding officer of a specialised unit that is responsible for tracking and dealing with Predator activity on Earth. Phillips tells Schaefer that Dutch disappeared after the events in South America. Predator Cold War is the next series to feature Detective Schaefer. He is coerced into participating in a mission by Phillips, who promises Schaefer that he will provide information on Dutch's disappearance. In Predator Dark River, Detective Schaefer makes his third and final appearance in the Predator Expanded Universe. Schaefer comes across a man named Mercer, who claims he was a pilot who operated primarily in South America and that he was the one responsible for taxiing Phillips to pick up Dutch after the Predator self-destructed. According to Mercer, on the flight back, Dutch started to show symptoms of some kind of infection. Worm-like growths protruded from his arms and hands, eventually spreading to his back. The pilot, and presumably Phillips, were then put in isolation for about a month, but neither showed signs of the infection. Mercer hypothesized that the infection was transmitted by direct contact with the Predator. Not knowing what Dutch was infected with or how to deal with the disease, he was choppered back out into the jungle and left to die. Now, this story was nothing but a lie. It was all a ploy by Phillips to lure Schaefer back down to South America to confront the Predator that was believed to have been killed by Schaefer during the events of Concrete Jungle. It had survived and was on a rampage trying to find the detective. Dark River ended with Schaefer confronting General Phillips with a pistol, determined to get answers about Dutch. And as far as I can remember, that's the last we see of Detective Schaefer, and Dutch isn't really given any attention in any of the following expanded universe stories. And despite his minor role in the expanded universe after the original Predator, there had been many other possibilities for Dutch. For the rest of the video, we'll explore all these could have been scenarios. According to Jim Thomas, one of the writers of Predator and Predator 2, an earlier idea they had for Predator 2 was that Arnie would have been specifically targeted by another Predator after his defeat of the Jungle Hunter. Speaking at a screening of Predator in November 2017, Jim Thomas explained, "We had an idea where at the end of Predator, with the burned up clearing where the explosion happens, Predator 2 opens there, and a Predator's invisible feet comes into view and a hand plunges down into the dust, into the ashes, and brings up the Predator's arm and activates the computer and gets a readout to see everything that has happened up until that point, focusing on Arnold and "this is my target." We went from there and we had to think of how to bring Arnold back into it. Unfortunately, it would seem that the Thomas brothers never got further with a complete draft that would have finished Dutch. While the first draft of Predator 2 is not actually available in the public domain, it would have evidently followed the story for Predator 2 as released, where it featured Keyes. Dutch would have appeared, but he would have only given a single line of dialogue on one of the screens seen inside Keyes' command trailer. And the earliest Predator 2 script that is actually out in the public domain, the second draft, merely features Dutch in passing, with Keyes telling Harrigan that the one survivor from the encounter in the first film disappeared without a trace 6 months later. This mention would be completely removed in the third draft and in the finished film. In the making of Predator 2, Gary Busey spoke a little about what happened to Dutch after the events of Predator. According to Busey, Dutch was lost 9 weeks after the event of the first film. The full extent of what he meant by lost is not known though. It's possible Busey was referring to the dialogue from the earlier draft with Dutch just disappearing. Dutch was also written into various Predator 3 scripts. In Robert Rodriguez's infamous 1996 draft of Predators, Dutch was once again the main character, where he was kidnapped by the Earth military and taken to a Predator gladiatorial planet. There, Dutch was expected to have a fight against Predators and various other aliens. He was given to the Predators to help maintain an unstable pact between the human and Predator governments, so that the Predators would show restraint in their activities on Earth. But that load of insanity is another video in its own right. When the general concept of Robert Rodriguez's Predators was revisited for the 2010 release, an early draft of the rewritten script by Alex Litvak and Michael Finch was leaked online. At the end of the script was an alternate ending that would have seen Dutch and Arnie return to the Predator series. After defeating the Berserker Predator, known in this draft of Predators as the Black Super Predator, Royce and Isabel had strung its corpse on the totem that you see the crucified Predator on earlier in the film. A battered Predator ship lands nearby them, and a dozen Predators emerge from the ship. I read now from the script. Predators part like the Red Sea. Their leader, his armour, different from the rest, covered in trophies from untold hunts, approaches, surveys up our duo, the devastation. Last but not least, the slain Black Super Predator slowly removes his helmet. The face beneath it belongs to Dutch, the man, the myth, the legend. And at this point he would turn to Royce and Isabel and say, "Not bad, kid. Not bad." And then we smash to black. How serious this ending was is unknown. Throughout Predator's production there were many rumours and debunks of an appearance of Arnie. Robert Rodriguez would later confirm that in the very early days of the production he did actually approach Arnie about appearing in the film, even offering to push back filming until Arnold had left the governor's mansion. Rodriguez would also claim that the scripted cameo featuring Dutch was nothing more than a false ending written in so that the studio could track any potential leaks. He would also claim that that entire draft was a fake, though it deliberately featured aspects of the finished production. Now, how accurate that claim is unknown. It's never really been spoken about, and the only source of information regarding that comes from this supposed leaked draft. Paul W.S. Anderson, director and writer of the first Alien vs Predator film, stated in an interview that Arnie had offered to reprise his role as Dutch at the end of AVP as a cameo, but only on the condition that he lost the election for Governor of California. Obviously that didn't happen, he never appeared in the AVP. No details of what the cameo might have entailed have ever emerged. Prior to Predators entering production, there were also rumours of other pitches for scripts written for a third Predator film. The most common of these pitches that used to get floated around in various news reports was one written by Sam Park that would have been called Predator 3, the deadliest of the species, and it would have featured Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dutch in New York during a blizzard. The Predator comes to New York specifically to track down Dutch and try to kill him. Another story idea that was often floating around was something called The Zoo, which featured some of the similar concepts from Predators, in which both Dutch and Harrigan were captured and brought to the Predator home planet because they were the only two people to have ever killed a Predator. Neither of those pictures or treatments or scripts have ever made their way online in any detail, and what we do know of them only comes from the various fleeting comments that have been made by their writers or people involved with the franchise. As far as we are aware, Arnold and Dutch won't be appearing in the upcoming Shane Black sequel, The Predator. The last we heard from Arnie about the new film was that he turned it down, stating that he didn't like it. He did say that he would reconsider if Dutch was given a more significant role in the film. Now, it's no secret that an early draft of The Predator was leaked and has been making the rounds behind closed doors. This particular draft was nearly a year old by the time the film went in front of cameras. There's no doubt been tweaked and rewritten numerous times since then. That particular draft did feature a very small cameo from Dutch at the end of the film, with only 3 lines of dialogue. He introduces himself to the survivors and states that mankind is at war with the Predators, and that the surviving characters need to come with him to prepare. So with such a small cameo, it's understandable as to why Arnie would say something like he would only really be interested in it if it was a more significant role. And Capcom's Alien vs Predator arcade game, which was released in 1994, did feature a Major D. Schaefer as a playable character. Now that said, he's not intended to be the actual Dutch Schaefer. According to the character biography, the game's Major D. Schaefer was a cyborg created to fight extraterrestrials. He lost his right arm in the second Alien War and has since had it replaced with a smart gun rig. He lives only to avenge himself against the aliens. Now, aside from the first draft of Predator 2 and the early script for The Predator, all the scripts that I've mentioned in this video are available to download on the AVP Galaxy download section. If you go to the homepage, avpgalaxy.net, hover over the site tab on the menu and select downloads, you'll be able to find all these scripts and pretty much every Alien or Predator script that is out there in the public domain. The comics and novels are available online, directly from Dark Horse or any of your usual good comic retailers or book retailers, Amazon, Waterstones, any place like that. I'd also like to thank Lee Byrne of Xenopedia for pointing me to the right pages in the Predator 2 novelisation, and for actually lending me the book. And lastly, I'd like to thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed our latest look at some Predator history. Be sure to let us know what you think of the latest episode down below. And if there's anything that I've missed, any other appearances, be sure to post up and fill in the knowledge gaps. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please be sure to subscribe to our channel for more Alien and Predator videos, and keep an eye on the homepage for the latest on all the Predator news and Predator content in general. Thank you for watching.